What's up, guys? Welcome back to the doctor's office. I am Dr. K. Knight, here to give you proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. We are back with a new addition to the Absolute Universe, Absolute Green Lantern. So, I'm not sure what to make of this. So initially, when the conversation was happening with the Absolute Universe, and they were talking about Absolute Green Lantern, they wanted to focus on Jo Mullein. I have absolutely no problem with that. Jo is my girl, right? So, but, they have all of the Green Lanterns in here. But the focus on who is the Absolute Green Lantern is going to be Jo. Interesting. I have this absolutely amazing Green Lantern, Jo Mullein, and from what I've seen, she's the only black female Green Lantern outside of Aletha, who was the first ever Green Lantern, period. So this should be fairly interesting. Now, the way that it starts, of course, is it has Hal Jordan, who is walking down this super hot stretch of road, looks like the highway, and a police officer stops him and pulls him over, stops him from walking, and he's just it's not a crime for you to just be outside walking, but it is a bit suspicious that you are outside walking in this heat with this bomber jacket on and you're by yourself. It is kind of odd. It's definitely weird, especially because there's absolutely nothing around where they are. And so, Hal is talking, and he's Hal's not even really talking. He's just he says that he's so scared, and there's something in his head is you need to get over being afraid, do things without fear, right? But he's absolutely terrified. And to be honest, he definitely should be. So the conversation is perfectly fine. The police officer is really just checking, oh, is you cool type thing. Are you okay? Because it's hot as fuck. You're in a desert with a jacket on, in the heat, walking. It's odd. It's weird. And so he's cool, except he moves his hand in his pocket. He quite literally never takes his hand out of his pocket. And that obviously makes the police officer suspicious. Now, any other time, a cab. But the police officer definitely had a reason, because what the hell are you doing? And why are you it's very suspicious the way that he just has his fucking hand in his pocket. It's weird. So I can definitely understand the police officer's reaction. And it's the fact that he's literally not pulling his hand out of his pocket for a good reason, but you're also not explaining anything. You're not saying any words. You're literally just doing jibber jabber mumbling, and it's unhelpful to your case right now. So at one point in time, I'm assuming he does remove his hand from his pocket, and the police officer disappears. We're going to go ahead and say the police officer is dead at this point. Until otherwise told, we're gonna say the police officer is dead. The only thing left is the badge and the car, but there's a hole where the police officer was. So he ends up going to this diner, and the lady at the diner, she's just you good? Are you straight, bro? And he just asked for water. I would imagine that you're asking for water because it's hot as fuck outside, right? And so everybody's watching the Lakers game, and everybody's just chilling, and this news report comes up, and they're basically saying, hey, check this out. We did not edit this video in any way, shape, or form. This shit is live. And they show this gigantic green thing in the middle of Evergreen, Nevada. And it's just there. Nobody knows what it is. It's just this giant solidified green thing, right? And so the broadcast ends up going off after the news lady's okay, we're gonna get more information and come back to you, and the broadcast ends up going off. So of course everybody's confused. Flashback to 5 days ago. I want to say it's 5 days. It's not 5 months, I would hope, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 days. So 5 days prior to that, Jo, John Stewart, and Hal are all chilling, talking, John is super excited about like this online auction that's going on. They just got an extension at the hospital, so he's paying for lunch. And then of course Jo and Hal are talking about why she ended up leaving Coastal City, where she said like she was trying to put that in her rear view. And they would start talking about the fact that John is actually really excited that everything is happening outside of being at a local business, because that place, it looks like really deserted. It looks like that shit is broke. And so, they're just chopping it up. And like this biker kind of just like flies by, and Hal's like, he's going to injure somebody, like somebody should call Guy. And she's like, if Guy has ears, he's fucking heard about it. Is he going to do something about it? Probably not. And so he's like, is there something going on between you two? Like, did y'all have a fight? And she's like, well, he wanted me to come back to police department. I basically fucking said no. He said if I had come back or if I had stayed, I would have been chief by now. And if he can't understand why it is that I left, maybe it's just a good idea that I stay gone. And he's just like, we're still trying to figure out why you stayed, why you left, but And it really actually kind of seems that Hal Jordan is the immature one of this group. So with that happening, the guy who was on the bike hits something that is green, and he just disintegrates essentially. And so Hal is the first one running, and they're like, yo, wait. And he's like, somebody call an ambulance. That guy could be hurt. Hurt is not even the word. That man is dead. He doesn't have a head. And she actually points that out, is that there's nothing left of his head. And he's like feeling along it. He's like, it feels curved. And it's like there were some bikers that ended up showing up, but they turned around and left. And he had a problem with that, because he's like, it's as if they don't see like their friend down here dead. And she's like, I don't think that they see anything. And she's very confused, because like, what the hell is going on? And so when they look up, Abin Sur is up there floating, chilling, right? And so he snaps back to reality and says Abin Sur's name out loud. And they're like, what are you talking about? And one of the guys in there starts yelling at him. And he's like, the lady's like, stop yelling at him. Whatever happened there is not his fault. And he's like, actually, it is my fault. And then again, he has his hands in his pocket. So, of course, they're like, what's in your pocket? And he's like, there was a police officer. Police officer asked me the same question. He's like, what happened to the cop? And everybody kind of starts questioning, and he's like, Abin Sur gave me something, gave me a weapon. And she's like, the server is like, like a gun or something, and she's about to go reach for her gun under the counter, and everybody's really just kind of like in a panic. So the guy pulls out Hal's arm, and it's just black, like a void, and it reacts to the guy pulling his hand out, and it turns the guy into like a black void, and he ends up disappearing. Of course, everybody's freaking out, and he's like, it's reacting to danger, and he's trying to like warn them, and the server shoots him, and it just goes like a complete like void blast happens inside this diner. Well, he realizes that he's been shot, and he's like, well, maybe this will kill me, but his hand starts healing him, and he's like, you're just not gonna let me die, are you? And at that moment in time, Jo shows up, and she's like glowing, covered in like just green, and she has the Green Lantern symbol, and she's like, what happened to you? So that's where it stops, and that's where this gets really interesting, because this is supposed to take like a horror thriller turn, and I've always found it interesting that the Green Lanterns are essentially the space cops. So of course, as we see, Jo is the one that's covered in the Green Lantern thing, but Abin Sur still gave him like something. So I'm wondering if Abin Sur gave him that, and then someone else gave Jo the Green Lantern essence and the symbol and everything that she's basically kind of covered in. I do like that this is taking like that horror like into account, because it would essentially be different from the other ones. I actually also enjoy that she's the one who is going to be the main Green Lantern for this. But I'm also wondering what happened to John, because Hal is there, Jo is there. What happened to John? Like, is John dead? Is John okay? So I do and I don't love cliffhangers, because then of course you have all of these fucking questions. But that's just what makes good writing good writing. This one I think is going to be interesting. If they do actually decide to do the Absolute Justice League, or whatever it is that they're going to do, having Jo, and I think Jo would probably be a really level-headed as well. So I think Jo, Wonder Woman, and Batman are all at the same age at this point. If not, having Jo just like a little bit older. We'll see. I don't know. But I think this is interesting. I think this is a really interesting addition to the Absolute universe that's happening right now. So I'm very excited to see what's going on. I'm not particularly a fan of the Green Lanterns. Again, I've found it interesting that they are essentially the space cops, but I haven't too much taken an interest in like all of the stories. When they did introduce Jo Mullein, I thought hers was actually really kind of cool, but then they kind of just put her in the background like they normally do. So we'll see. Hopefully this gives her like, I'm hoping this is giving her the shine that she like absolutely deserves, especially considering she is the only current Black female Green Lantern that exists and is alive. We did have Aletha, they killed Aletha, so you know, we'll see. But I don't think I have anything else. I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I think this will be a really fun story. Y'all know I love horror, so. But that is it for this episode of The Doctor's Office. Make sure that you're checking in for the podcast. Make sure that you guys are checking in for the Ghastly Gospels cosplay podcast. That should be super interesting, really fun. And if you haven't gotten the book, get the book. I don't know where the book is on my desk anymore, but if you haven't got the book, get the book. And I'll see you guys at your next checkup.